Good morning, my friends. It is Friday, October 18th, 2024, and we have a lot of ground to cover today. I'm still amazed that we're at 14 or 1500 per day for the last 3 or 4 days. 1,530 Russians off the battlefield, only 13 tanks with that many casualties. So it seems like it's more meat wave kind of assaults. 51 armored fighting vehicles, 23 artillery systems, 93 vehicles and fuel tanks. The fighting is high, and we just passed 9,000 tanks yesterday, and we're also passing 18,000 Russian armored combat vehicles since the war began. 18,000, 9,000 tanks, 18,000. We just passed these mile markers yesterday and today. It's really interesting. Jay and Keefe says, interestingly, the profile of the daily Russian losses are ones of growing reliance on meat assault. And you can kind of see that when you're seeing 14, 1,500 per day, when the highest average for a month, which was last month, was 1,200 and I think 71. So something significant is happening here. And we'll talk about that. You'll see where the pushing and shoving is on the battlefield. Out of 135 launched Shahed drones, 80 were shot down, 44 were taken down by electronic warfare. Another 2 flew back to Belarus, because a number of them were flying over Belarus. Okay, when we look at Andrew Perpetua's list, what do you see here? This is pop quiz time. So if you've been with me for any length of time, you're seeing a couple things. And if you're saying, wow, the ratio of Russian losses in red to blue is pretty significant, it's 4 or 5 to 1, you're right. If you're also saying that's a lot of losses in just day over day, you're also right. So those two things are both important to understand, to help you understand what's going on the battlefield. Okay, ISW, Russian forces recently advanced southeast of Pokrovsk, and Ukrainian forces recently advanced east of Pokrovsk. It looks like more Russian than Ukrainian fighting, or like taking ground or offenses. Geolocated footage published on October 17th indicates that Ukrainian forces recently regained marginal ground near Mykolaiv. Russian forces continued offensive operations near Pokrovsk, near Prorum, southeast of Pokrovsk. Okay, a little bit more. Russian forces advanced on the western side of the Ukrainian salient in the Kursk Oblast. Russian forces advanced near or southeast of Kornevo. Ukrainian forces reportedly counterattacked southeast of Kornevo. It's just the Russians are being very aggressive. They're being ordered to be very aggressive right now. Ukrainians did advance near Toretsk and Pokrovsk, while Russians gained ground near Chasiv Yar and Kharkov. Okay, so I'm going to show you something on the map in just a moment, but Russian forces approached Kupiansk. That's all bad. Ukrainian authorities urged residents to evacuate from the Kharkiv Oblast, from this far eastern side of the Kharkiv Oblast. And I thought, wow, they're told to get out of Kharkiv. Well, let's look at the map. Here's Kupiansk, here's Kharkiv city, right? So this is the far eastern side of this. Here's the border of it. And there are ways that you can, so Kharkiv was being attacked through Russia, right from the north. And this was all bad in the very beginning of the summer. You remember this, right? And we were really nervous about this. Well, if they take Kupiansk, it's like, yes, it's wooded terrain. It's hard to get through, but they can keep pushing this way just as much as they can push this way. So, and here's 3 months ago, and here's now. Again, the map 3 months ago and now. So the Russians just keep chipping away and losing, and they're spending 1,500 day over day in the last few days, just trying to make some progress here, because the number of men don't really matter. They're getting resupplied anyway, or resupplies from North Korea, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Meanwhile, they're not really taking care of their men very well. This gentleman's talking about what's going on, and we're going to read what he has to say in just a moment. This is Anton Gurashenko saying Russian Z propagandist Maxim Kalashnikov complains that the Russian Ministry of Defense cannot organize a supply of even the most basic things. So here's what he has to say. I would like to draw attention to Mr. Belazov and Mr. Gerasimov to the fact that, at last, personnel accountability should be put to rights. In a neighboring village, we met some guys who are fighting here, as they told us they buy Niva cars. at their own expense. They say, "Can you help?" They ask for warm clothes and socks. "The cold weather is coming. We asked, where's administrative commandant?" They smiled bitterly and said, "In the rear." Can't say much more. Couldn't film either. It's another story. One of the guys is from Donbass. He fought in Donbass and was seconded here. So he's assigned to both there and to Donbass simultaneously. That's I think what he's trying to explain. So the message such that he is listed as absent without official leave there and has to return. If he returns to Donbass, he'll be AWOL here. Do you realize the mess that's going on in this war? Like, that's a pretty jacked up situation, to be sure. Okay, this guy also has some issues, but it's not quite with the same crowd. It's with other parts within Russian army versus Akhmat. This man serves in the infamous 155th Brigade in Kursk. He says that Akhmat has really pissed them off. The Akhmat, the Chechen fighters, the TikTok warriors that do all those videos and then they don't really fight, but they talk about being special forces and stuff. They came before the assault like a support group, but only a moral one, because their fighters don't go into battle, they just wait for the result. If a settlement is taken, Akhmat flies in at full speed, and if things are going poorly, they disappear without a trace. Now, I saw this the other day and I thought, wow, I need to talk about this, but then so many other things came along. In 2022, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin told his counterpart, the Minister of Defense, Sergei Shoigu, don't use tactical nuke in Ukraine. And Shoigu replied by saying, I don't like being threatened. Austin replied, I'm in charge of the most powerful military in the history of the world. I don't make threats. It's a good line, right? But this is when the U.S. was most nervous that Russia might actually use a tactical nuke in Ukraine. Okay, a little bit more on different topics. We've been talking about North Korea quite a bit. More confirmation of North Korea's involvement in Russia's war in Ukraine. South Korean intelligence reports DPRK is already involved in hostilities against Ukraine and will deploy 12,000 troops. The number we were talking about yesterday was 10,000. I saw 11,000 early this morning and then 12,000, but this is reported by Reuters. I only talk through reputable sources. Yesterday, Greg Terry and I were talking, and we were talking about like what he had as inside knowledge from Ukrainian officers on the ground. But that dovetailed very well with what we know from the reputable sources. And there's nothing outside that would make me nervous about what he was saying either. So you can go back to that video as well. Moscow and Tehran will sign a cooperation agreement after the BRICS summit, the Iranian ambassador to Russia said. Now, if that agreement is anything like North Korea, we're in for a world of trouble in the world. The North Korean is a military agreement. I don't know that the one with Tehran will be. But meanwhile, while speaking at the BRICS forum, he said that at the summit is not directed against anyone, but it's about development and prosperity. So yeah, I mean, he's trying to create a supply and work through alternate means. But if you see an agreement like you saw with North Korea, again, we're in deep, deep trouble in the world. An investigation uncovers Russia's potential sanctions evasions through transit manipulation. So the scheme redirects goods meant for Central Asia and the Caucasus to Russia just by manipulating the shipment document. So it says it's going to Turkmenistan or Kazakhstan or one of the stands, and it actually goes directly to Russia. Like they're not even hiding it by trying to have it go directly to the country first. They're just altering the documents. Meanwhile, Russia is looking to find more gas and oil reserves, coal deep in the Arctic. But they're not just doing that, they're also militarizing the Arctic. But wait, there's more. Russia's not just drilling, it's arming the Arctic. New military bases sprout like weeds, complete with nuclear-capable missiles. So that's what it looks like. Here's Greenland, Canada, Alaska, and here's where these bases are popping up all over. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. This is a drum system to drop munitions from a drone. Just thought it was a fascinating mechanism. The ingenuity is just amazing. All right, my friends, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the memberships, the coffees. I appreciate all of that. Thank you so much, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.